tense around how quickly things happen. And not just in the practice, but like with whatever goals that we set. So we spend our lives in this mad, frantic rush, you know? So we're constantly going for the next thing, and how can we get there? And then once we get there, how can we move on from it? And how can we have more of this? And then even if it's really good, then we want to milk that experience, and you know, and we're just constantly running, and constantly rushing towards the goal. And then it sort of hit me, you know, we spend our whole lives rushing, waiting for what? You know, waiting to get there. But then as soon as we get to any bit of there, then immediately we're rushing to a new goal. So the yoga practice, more than anything else, I think asks us to be present and to define presence through the vehicle of the body and the breath and the particular focal points at any given moment. And in that avenue, it circumvents the whole need to get any particular place. Because if we just let go of the idea of getting any particular posture, any particular place, in any particular length of time, then the whole depth of the practice, you know, opens up. Because all of the tension around rushing just immediately leaves. So if we can just be, you know, exactly where we are, whatever that is, then we can know on a fundamental level that at least in this moment, we're all okay, you know, it's okay. And I think part of our rushing, definitely for me, the rushing comes from, you know, lack of self-confidence or trying to put something into a hole that's missing, covering up shadows, or, you know, trying to compensate for things. And so we have all of this, you know, residual tension that's underneath the skin somehow. We run from it. And we think that if we get somewhere, then that somewhere will solve the tension that's inside of us. But then when we get there, we brought the tension with us. You know, I gotta run. Let me get there. You know, we do that in the practice. I gotta get Supta you know, and then you see people on these missions. And I haven't been on the mission. I was on Pinchamayurasana mission. That's what I went on. Pinchamayurasana, here I come. Every day, here I go. All right, let me do push-ups. You know, oh, let me do this, let me do that. I'll hold against the wall for an hour. Not an hour, I'm exaggerating. I couldn't make it, that's why. It's the only reason I didn't do it, because I couldn't make it, you know. I'm gonna hold against the wall until I die. Right? And then you see people with their hips. I'm gonna sit here. How long is it gonna take me to open my hip joint? And you're like, I don't know. Like, go with that attitude, probably your whole life. You know. So we have the idea that once we get there, and the posture is there. Once we get there, then it'll be all right. But you're still you when you get there. So if you aren't all right in the beginning, then you aren't all right in the posture. You put your leg behind the head, it's still you. Just the leg is behind the head. Still you. Still look the same. Still got the same face. Maybe the nose a little smushed, but the leg behind the head still is you, right? So if you're not okay with you, no posture is going to make it better. No thing, no external thing is going to make it better. So we rush around. We spend this time rushing. If we could really just, through the vehicle of the breath, inhale and exhale with the full knowledge that whatever is, just is. It's neither good nor bad. And whatever is totally 100% as it should be and as it needs to be. And that's the presence of the practice. That in the moments of the breath, you know, there is only the inhalation. There is only the exhalation. And you're working in the moment. But when you reduce the reality of the moment to its most basic components in the practice, there's the inhalation, there's the exhalation, there's the posture that you're in, and then there's your focal point. None of which is good or bad. So there's nowhere to go to, and there's nowhere to run from. It's just accepting the reality of what is. I don't know how long we need to run in order to get that. You know, maybe at some moment we get tired of running. You know, I just finished reading this book called Beautiful Ruins. Has anyone read that? Beautiful Ruins? No? It's a relatively new book, but it was on the, I don't know, when some on some list, something like that's a novel. If you don't like novels, no purpose in reading it. But it was interesting because at the end of the whole book is based on people that are waiting for their next big break, you know, to spend the whole life chasing this, and then in that narcissistic flurry of going after the next big thing, create, you know, a beautiful ruin out of the life. Right? And you know, we do that in the practice because we run after a posture and then we break our knee along the way. Then we run after another posture and we break our shoulder, you know? And then if we could just chill, just breathe, then I actually think we'd be able to accomplish so much more. The body's never going to do what you want it to do when there's that residual tension. And then even if you do manage to force the body into doing things, holding that residual tension inside, eventually something has to give, something will break. And it's this idea of letting go of the need to get there, letting go of the need to achieve any particular thing, that I think is maybe one of the deepest and hardest to understand lessons of the whole practice. So I don't know what series that comes from, but hopefully it comes eventually in the sun salutation. So this is your chance to ask questions. I can talk. I'm a talker. But I think some of you are in the training. How's the training going? You're in the training. It's good? Yeah?
How do you know when your class has had enough? When you're just like, when you can push and because it has those moments of like, I'm sure I can keep doing it. But how do you know when it's like, okay, maybe we pushed a little too far, or maybe they can keep going, you know? How can you tell?
You know, it's a little bit of trial and error, you know, and then it's sort of like a sensitivity, your sensitivity, and it's sort of, when suffering reaches a point of just grinning and bearing it, and people aren't having a good time anymore. And for me, the gauge of that is when people start to get really frustrated and start to just completely quit trying. So then they stop trying at all, and then they just sit there and look deflated. Then you've definitely gone too far, you know? And then the suffering reaches a point when it's no longer like happy suffering. Do you know what I mean? You know, like when you like it, when you're like, yeah, I want to be in chaturanga, you know? And it's hard, but you're like, yeah. And then it's just, you just feel defeated. Like you can't even try anymore. Like if you see the students so beaten down that they can't even try, then they've gone too far, you know? Whereas if they're sweating, and usually when people are laughing and they reach their limit, then usually there's more, because the laughing is like the first defense. Like, this is ridiculous. They're still in a good mood. They definitely have more to give. When people are talking back to you, they definitely have more to give, you know? You ever hear like people, they're like, start talking, I can't do that. I'm like, honey, you're doing it. You're just saying you can't while you're doing it, you know? I gotta come down, I gotta come down, if you were to just breathe. They say that you're gonna take them down, like conversation. You have that much energy to scream at that pace. You gotta come down. You have more to give in the postures. I mean, let's see if we can meet on that. The other thing, of course, is to find those limits within yourself and to recognize what those limits are within yourself. And so how do we work that edge within our own practice? And we have to be very conscious of, again, this idea of that the practice is never punitive, not self-punitive, nor you're not trying to punish the students. You know, it's not meant to be like, you know, a really good flogging. It's not meant to be like that. You know, it's meant to be like a happy challenge. You know, just outside of the bounds enough so that it brings elation, rather than, you know, beaten down. You don't want the beaten down feeling. And especially, you know, in your own practice, how you're approaching working is very important. I know someone who's a student of ours, my husband and I, she's one of our students, and she works so hard. She works so hard, so it breaks my heart, you know. And she can do so many things. She works and works. She works so hard. And I can't get her to relax at all. And it just breaks my heart. Like I reach a point where I know why she's doing that to herself, and she says it, she's aware. She's like, oh, I just flog myself every day for 2 hours and then I feel a little better. And I'm like, that's not what you're supposed to do. Like that, you have that much pain. You know, she has that much pain that she's using the practice to beat herself so she can feel a little better, you know? And that's not the spirit of the practice. The spirit of the practice is to use the vehicle of asana and the breath and the focal point to experience the peace that's available and the depths of our inner self. But we'll keep trying to help her relax, you know? And I mean, I would, she doesn't even take moon days off. She's like, I don't do this, you know? And I told her, I was like, you're not coming tomorrow. I don't want to see you practicing tomorrow. She you know, was asking if she could come and just practice outside, you know, anyhow on the moon day. And I was like, no, you are not allowed to do that. I don't want to see you. You have to take a day off. You got to sleep in. You got to like eat a piece of chocolate. eat a donut. You know, she's like, donut. You know, absolutely not. I'm like, all right, little chocolate, small, little square, donut, square. No. And I mean, I had like a mission. I'm trying to get her to take a day off and eat a piece of chocolate. This is like my teaching with her, you know? So that's, and someone like that, I'll never push. You know? A little thing, like, straighten the elbow, this sort of thing, but like, you know, no more postures, no more, nothing like that. Like, done. Just not, like, you want another posture? Eat chocolate every day for 3 months. Sleep in every moon day. And it's just, you know, I find in the day where I went up to her, it's like, you're not coming tomorrow. If I see you, I'm going to be angry at you. You're not coming. Don't let me see you doing your practice on a moon day. And then I saw her and I didn't see her and I got excited. Oh, she finally, yeah, she slept in. Great. I mean, really, how many people you need to talk that hard to about sleeping in? You know what I mean? Sleep in tomorrow. As much as you'd be like, oh, imagine your boss called you. You don't come in. I want you to take the day off. You're not fired or anything. In fact, I'm going to pay you to stay home. Oh, okay. Oh, are you sure? Yeah, you know, it's a new company policy. Everyone's got to have a sleep-in day. Tomorrow's your day. All right, this is an awesome company. You know what I mean? This rocks, right? But I saw her after, and she, you know, I was like, hey, you didn't practice good. She's like, I flapped around in my room and did a moon sequence and whatever. And I was like, you did a what? Like, I got angry and disappointed and hurt and sad all like on her behalf. And I was just like, you did what? What is that? You did a moon sequence. You know, I'm like, why? I couldn't, you know, yeah, not that there's anything wrong with the moon sequence. I'm like, did you make that up? Like, what happened? You woke up in the middle of the night, you had to do that? And it breaks my heart because she has to do that because she's using the practice as this, you know, self-punitive thing. It's better than drug addiction, you know, it's better than other things. But eventually, the practice has the promise that it will heal. It will heal that. One thing that always inspired me about Guruji is that he was able to contain all of that suffering. You know, all the reasons and the traumas and the darkness that we, you know, use the practice to cover up with and use the practice to touch and experience. He was able to somehow embrace all of that, so we could, you know, we could feel. He could feel it. He could be there for us. His presence was somehow healing. I always admired that about him. You know, one person's pain that's too big for me to feel, and my heart's breaking to the extent that like it's traumatizing for me. And Guruji, how many people? And there are people who go to India practice with Guruji. Like it's like the mecca of all of the people's problems. You know what I mean? Like the average yoga practitioner, like, yeah, I like it, a pretty balanced person. Maybe they don't need to go to India, but if you're like obsessed with the practice, then you get on an airplane, you go there. So like, not to say everyone's crazy in India, but everyone's crazy in India. You know? And if you're not crazy when you get there, it kind of makes you a little crazy, you know. So, and that's part of it, you know. I don't know if that was an actual answer to your question.
I was kind of wondering how important is the home practice? I go to studio almost every single day, except Sunday. I feel like, you know, maybe I need also kind of some kind of routine home practice. So I'm not sure what's your take on that.
Well, home practice is very strengthening because you really find out, who you are when no one's watching. It's so easy when you unroll your mat at home to just be like, maybe breakfast, my husband is the easiest person to get out of his practice. Actually, somehow I practice always before him, and then he starts, and then I start making breakfast, and then like he's like, "What are you making?" Toast for him I think is the worst. And he smells the toast. What's happening out there? Is that toast? And I open the door and I'm like, it's toast. Ooh. I'm like, do you want a bite? One time, this is a funny story. One time, I had already practiced, and I practiced a while before. I had 2 hours. I was finished, and I had showered. I had breakfast, and I'm like, I'm hungry again. I'll make something. I can only wait for my husband so long. He's there. He's started to practice. So there are these vegetarian little things. I think it's called gimme lean, and you can make them into all weird shapes and whatnot. So I just made little things that look like a hamburger, but it's a vegetarian version. Very bad vegetarian food. So I don't recommend for anyone, but it's kind of tasty. So then you put cooking garlic, put a little cheese on top, you have fake vegetarian hamburger, and then Tim, in the other room, was like, "What are you making?" And then I go in with the plate, these things, and then he's like, "Oh, that looks good. Are those things you make, the little vegetarian burger things?" I'm like, "Yeah, those are the kind of little veggie burgers I make." And he does Supta Padangusthasana, and he rolls back into Chakrasana, and then he takes a bite, and he eats a whole one. He's like, "That's good." Then he continues practicing. It was one of the funniest moments of my life because if I would have done that, I would have quit the practice. But then he went back and
He needed a snack.
He needed a snack because he waited until noon to practice. Yeah. So this is the danger of home practice, right? You ever know when veggie burgers are going to come wafting by, toast with butter is going to come. There's inevitable distractions. Your phone rings. I can't, we just did a massive home remodeling project, and I can't tell you how many times when we start the practice, and then ding dong, oh, the contractor's late, oh, here he is, oh, you got a problem with the whatever, and then okay, all right, I'll stop, I was about to do that, but let's go out and talk to the city inspector, so there's those things that happen with home practice. That being said, if you do your practice, and you get dependent on your teacher for some things, like when you are, let's say there's certain postures that every day you wait for help, and you have these things where you're like, okay, I do this posture, I wait for help. I do this posture, I wait for help. It's extremely strengthening to just try that on your own and figure out what would you do if your teacher wasn't there? How do you work on that when there's no one there? I practice by myself quite often. The time that I practice most often in a class, maybe once a week at home, I'll take a class at my own yoga center, or in my source. It's really in India where I practice in a group setting, and the difference is palpable. It's the group energy and this sort of thing. So I think there's a balance between that. That being said, it depends on what type of learner you are. Some people need that daily support. They just won't do it at home. They need the support of the group. Then you go to class every day. If you think that you have a little bit something to learn from doing home practice, self-practice, then take that on and see if it can be part of a daily ritual. And it can be very strengthening. But watch out for the distractions. If you're going to do a home practice, I definitely recommend creating a sacred space, some place that's devoted only to your practice, so you don't every day put a new place for your yoga mat around the home. But that it's that space, and that will also communicate to your family members, practice is happening now, so that then slowly they'll begin to respect that. Rather than if you just kind of unroll your mat randomly. If you do it at the same time every day, and then that's your practice space, and you create things that initiate the practice space and close off the practice. Maybe light a candle. It can be as simple as that. It doesn't have to be a whole 2-hour Vedic chanting ritual to create a place to unroll your yoga mat. Just light a candle. and then blow out the candle and you're done. And that's ritualized behavior. If you do that every day, that again sends a signal. If you don't have a separate room you can go into, or you light an incense and you turn the incense off when you're done. Things like that, right? Creating those things for yourself, I think, can be very, very useful. If you're a person, and I'm kind of like this, that I reach a point where I can't take in anymore, like no more information, then I reach a point where like I'm done. I can't take in anymore. So then I have to do self-practice. I actually, in order for me to integrate, I can't go to a class and have someone give me an adjustment because I'm done. Like I've just reached a point where I'm at my limit. I get that sometimes in India. Like I come back and I'm like, I cannot go to a class. I don't want to go to a class. I don't want to do my practice with anyone else around because I don't want to. I just can't blend any other energies because I'm full. And until that integrates, I'm not even ready to go to a group class. You know. Sometimes if you take too many, do you have one class, one teacher you go to, or many different teachers?
Just mostly 1 to 2 teachers. Yeah.
1 or 2 teachers, then that's fine.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Well, usually I go to like evening classes.
Yeah.
And I sort of, it's like
Mysore class or the guided class?
It's a guided class.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was thinking maybe morning practice would be kind of nice.
Yeah.
So I'm just not so sure.
Yeah. Why don't you try, if you're going to the evening classes, you want to switch to the morning, maybe, and also you're interested in like home practice, the Mysore style method is a great intermediary step between the guided class and the home practice, because you begin to memorize and go through it at your own pace. So you get that sort of, individual journey experience, but you still get the benefit of the group. And then if you have 1 day a week where you practice at home, it's not so different from what you're doing normally. And then I think that might be a good intermediary step.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
You're welcome. Is there another question on this side? Yeah?
Yes, so you talk about the practice should never be punitive.
Yes.
And the other end of the spectrum would be the whole Yoga yoga that you
Yeah,
talk
yeah,
about,
yeah.
just purely for the sake of
Right.
enjoyment.
Sensual pleasure.
I mean, it's okay to have fun, right? But I once read that Chuck Miller said that he stopped doing the 4th series or the 5th when it became too much of a party, were his words. So, how do you know when to reach that zone?
Wow, I gotta hang out with Chuck some more. Because everyone else I ever talked to about 4th, they're like, holy hell, that's horrible. That's the worst thing I've ever done. Happy to lose that, Everyone else seems to think of it as like the ultimate tapas, like the thing that's the hardest thing in the world. So I don't know. I mean, we had an accident. Yeah. So I can't imagine 4th series being a party, but I actually thought of it recently as a zombie movie. So what I mean by that is, in the zombie movie where no matter what happens, there's actually a funny article in the New York Times, like maybe 2 years ago about this, where they're describing, it's a film study that's wondering why there's so many zombie movies. Anyone notice that? There's all these zombie movies. I haven't really seen many of them. But when you see one, you know all the zombie movies. There's one with Will Smith, there's Walking Dead or whatever it's called, and So basically every zombie movie, you kill one zombie, there's 10 more. In fact, then someone dies and they're zombies. It's just endless zombies, And there's not like, it's not complicated of how you kill them. You shoot it and then it dies. It's not like, it's not the wearable if you need the silver this and the bloody blah. No, it's just like a thing, and then you just shoot it and it dies. And then there's an endless onslaught of these things that keep coming at you. You never get a break. It never stops, and they keep coming. And it never gets any better. There's not like a friendly zombie that comes and is like, hi, I'm your friend, let's hang out. No, it's always going to attack you. It always needs to be killed, and they're always lurking around the corner. And it's endless, and it never lets up. So the article was like making the analogy between the zombie movie and the feeling of Monday morning emails. Maybe some of you can relate. You turn the computer, always more emails, you kill it, you reply, then you kill it, you reply, you kill it, you delete trash, you kill it, you reply, you shoot it, you reply, then the next day, all come back, you shoot it, you reply, and they just, it's just this endless onslaught. So for me, I thought the 4th series was like this, because there's no posture where it's nice. you know? There's just another one, it sucks, and there's another one, it sucks, and you do that, and this sucks worse, and there's another one, that sucks a little less, this sucks a little worse. It's hard. It's hard. The whole thing is hard. So, I don't know, for me, I felt like the ultimate tapas, you know? Like, there's no pleasure, no boga, zero pleasure. Only pleasure comes when something that was once so hard, so it gave me a panic attack, is now normal. Oh, that's pleasure, because it's at least not making me have a panic attack in the middle of the practice. So then that's the highlight of the series. Great. So for me, I don't know about party, but what I can speak to about that is that I meet people who come to take the Ashtanga class and they're like, this is so boring, the Ashtanga yoga. Why can't we just like rock it out, man? Like, let's just like rock it out. Ruby. And I'm like, that's not really yoga. You know, and let's have fun. Let's make it fun. Fun-yasa. And I'm like, okay, like that's fine. It's fine. You can do that. You can have fun, but be clear, this is not yoga, right? Be clear on that. That's fine. You can have fun. That's great. Do a movement-based yoga-inspired class. That's fine. Let it be fun. Rock it out. Put on the music. Have fun. Dance around. I like to dance. Great. I'm happy to do that. I'll go out and dance. Awesome. That's not yoga. What is yoga? Right? Yoga is not hoga, which is sensory entertainment, enjoyment of the senses. It's not that we should never experience that. We must be clear on what we're doing. If you do the practice, and we do it to milk out the sukha, to milk out the sensory pleasure. And we get attached to that, you know, there's some people that practice, and then they're like, that was so yummy. That I have like, I want to slap these people. Because it bothers me, because I'm like, because I've given someone an adjustment, and they're like, that was so yummy. And I'm like, that is not what I did to you. I did not do anything yummy. Yummy is ice cream. Okay, yummy is cookies and cream ice cream from Haagen-Dazs. Okay, I am not cookies and cream ice cream. At least I don't mean to be. You know, so at least in the yoga practice, maybe somewhere else, but not in the yoga practice. Outside of yoga, you know, this is a serious spiritual lineage. You can't take too seriously, but at the same time, it is serious. Like we do mean, you know, like your ultimate awakening is not something you can buy in the candy store. You have to work for it. You have to strive for it. It means something. It has meaning and value. It has authenticity. It has lineage. It's real. It's grounded. So if you go into that and you're like, that's so yummy. Like imagine if you were at the footsteps of meeting the Buddha. Seriously, like someone who was enlightened. And then they gave you a practice that could lead you to your liberation. And then your response was, yummy. They would be like, good luck. 72,000 more lifetimes for you. They'd probably look at you with compassion and go, and I'll still be here. Why you got in the door, I don't know. So that, I've actually talked to some yoga philosophers about this, and they were even more harsh. And I think I understand my reaction to it, because not only, you know, it's a misunderstanding of what the basic premise of the practice of yoga is, but perhaps more importantly, it's a false samskara. It's a delusion. If you think that methodology will lead to the end result, and you put your faith in that, and you put your sincerity in that method, it leads to a dead end. It's like believing in false idol. It's believing in a false guru. It's putting your heart and soul into a Ponzi scheme, and then it is some ways, not that it could hurt the authentic lineage of yoga, but it could turn someone off to it. So if you have someone who thinks that is yoga, and then they go down that road and they get hurt somewhere along the way, or it leads to a dead end, then they thought they were doing yoga the whole time, and then they quit because it hurt them, because they were doing yoga, they were having fun. Having fun, at some moment it ends. Do you know what I mean? It's like a really hot fling. At some moment it's going to end in misery for everyone, you know? Then you have to suck it up and experience reality. When you start, only good thing about a situation like that is it could create such a suffering, such an end, such a disillusionment with life experience, that then the opening for real yoga might actually happen. As long as we don't get so turned off and so hurt that we give up the whole thing forever. So that's the real danger. It's the false samskara. It's verbal delusion, which is one of the obstacles in the spiritual path of yoga. So it's very, I think that those things have purpose. They, sensory enjoyment. We need to distract ourselves, I watch movies on my iPad all the time. Like we teach all day. I don't even want to talk about yoga, I love yoga. I don't want to talk about it nonstop. We need sensory enjoyment, but we have to be clear. What is it that we're doing? That clarity, that conscious choice. Now I'm full, my brain is full. I need to watch Grey's Anatomy. Okay, and watch something completely mindless and watch hot doctors sleeping with each other, and then and that's fine. Like you're clear, but if you do that and call it yoga, then there's delusion. That's I think that's kind of the essence of that distinction. Does that make sense?
It does, and one of the things I like about you is how when you're photographed, you have that very serene, sometimes almost looks like a smile in certain poses. And if you go into some yoga studios, you've got the people that the masochistic types. I don't know if Chuck's in that category. If he thought the fourth series was a part of we're a little bit too serious. And I mean, doesn't the times we say that some of the guiding principles besides practice ought to be friendliness, earnestness, and pleasure, and the achievements of others.
Yeah.
But it's just it's a fine line.
Absolutely, and you probably swing back and forth, and the swinging back and forth is the essence of balance. If you stand in samasthiti, you don't balance, right? You swing a little bit back and forth from your right foot to your left foot. You don't hold steady. So there is that swinging between opposing forces. That is, again, the essence of balance. And we're never steady in the middle. We go a little bit to the one side, and we go a little to the other side. And then we go a little to the other. We swing back and forth. But I think over the course of our practice, those undulations between the extremes of pleasure and pain become less severe, and then we're less disturbed by them. So then that equal standing posture, samasthiti, that basis of the whole practice, begins to be like the expression not just of the plumb line of the body, but of the central axis of all of our thoughts and our emotions. So then we're no longer bothered by the little sway to the right, little sway to the left. It no longer feels like the tides of the ocean pulling us to one extreme or the other. It's just as it is, little movements, little drops in the ocean of our own consciousness. And if you're too stuck, you try to do samasthiti, then that doesn't work either. You ever see some? I am very sorry to tell you this as a teacher, but some of you teachers, you know this. When the whole room's in samasthiti and everyone has their eyes closed, it sometimes can be the most funny moment, because you look around and then again, sorry, don't get self-conscious. It's just relax is the best thing, because the people who are the most funny are the ones who are trying to do samasthiti, who are so serious about it. The people who are too much sukha, too much boga, you see what they're just like, you're waiting for us, It's kind of funny, it's adorable funny. And then the ones who are like so serious and so tense, and then you try to get them to relax, and then they try to relax correctly. And I have had a couple of times where I've been in a room where there are so many of these people who are doing samasthiti so correctly, and they were all look so different from each other. One had the chest really far up, and another one had the shoulders squeezed back, and another was really down this way. And I had to practice breathing and balance and not giggling, because I really just wanted to be like, all right, everyone, let's just laugh. But it wouldn't have gone over, If we look at the Yoga Sutras, I think that the two sutras that speak most to what you're talking about, or maybe three, Shtiram, Sukham, Asanam. The asana practice is a balance between Shtiram and Sukham. So we have always those two sides to the coin in the practice. And we talked about this over the classes this weekend, is that Shtira is strength and Sukha is pleasure. And so we always have that balance between strength and steadiness, and pleasure, grace, and ease, which is sometimes translated as that the mind is a calm, steady flow whenever we're doing the practice, which is then expressed through the vehicle of asana. That's another way to translate that. Another way to take that sutra, I think also in book 2, Dvandvana Bhigatha, which is the Dvandvana is opposites, so that the yogi's mind is no longer disturbed by Dvandvana, the opposites. Which opposites? The opposites of dukkha, pain, and sukha, pleasure. The yogi's mind is balanced and equal in between the inevitable oscillation between those surfacings, between dukkha and sukha. So that we're not, we don't create aversion towards dukkha, we don't create attachment towards pleasure. And this is the essence of what the practice has to teach us, so that we're there exactly in between. Then the other sutra that you mentioned about the cultivation of friendliness, yeah? This is a specific direction though, it's not just general friendliness. It's not like yogis are friendly. Like Krishnamacharya, does he look real friendly to you? Anytime anyone asks Guruji about Krishnamacharya, oh Guruji, talk about your teacher. Oh, Krishnamacharya, oh, scary man. He called him scary man. This is his teacher. With reverence, with you saw, you know, like not, he didn't say, oh, friend, you know. No. So when is friendliness appropriate? Maitri, karuna, mudito, pekshanam, sukha, dukkha, punya, apunya, vishayanam, bhavanantas, chitta, prasadanam. Chitta, the mind, the field of consciousness comprised of the information processing part of the mind, the feeling part of the soul, and the ego, both in its positive and negative formations, comprising the chitta. Chitta prasadanam. Prasad. You know what prasad is? Prasad? You ever been to a temple? Sacred offering. Yeah. So when your chitta is prasadanam, is so calm and balanced so as to be a gift or a blessing into the world. Chitta prasadanam. This is the yogi's dharma, to leave the world in a better place than it was when previously. So chitta prasadanam, when your chitta itself, when the field of your mind is prasad, holy offering into the world. How do we get that? Maitri is friendliness. We cultivate maitri to people who are experiencing sukha, pleasure, right? Maitri is meant to be cultivated, or success is sometimes also that. So pleasure, when they're happy people. Maitri, you are friendly to happy people, okay? This is fine in the abstract. So we think, oh, wonderful, people are happy, I am friendly. So you see two people in love and you've just been dumped and you go, I hate them. Couples everywhere, happy couples, explode them, and you want to hit them with BB guns and paint guns and things, and you visualize them burning and whatnot. And God forbid you see your ex happy, you know. So we try to cultivate maitri to people who are experiencing sukha. Karuna, compassion. Who do we cultivate compassion to? Those who need it, those who are experiencing dukkha. How do we recognize dukkha? What is pain? How do you know when someone is in pain? How about when they're really, really angry at you? Can you cultivate karuna, compassion, in that moment? Because anger is the worst type of pain. You know, can you do that? Is your chitta prasadana when someone's yelling at you? Can you cultivate compassion for them and forgiveness for them in that moment? It's so hard, so easy to yell back, right? Then we move on, mudita, which is joy. Who do we cultivate mudita to? To those who are experiencing punya, which is also success, right? Success, the positive side, again. So we have this, the people who do, it's also translated as the virtuous, people who do virtue in the world. The truly good people. We cultivate true joy in the presence of those who are doing good in the world. Easy person to think of maybe is like Amaji, you know, so she's definitely someone doing good in the world. You can say you believe or not, whether she's this hugging saint or not, but she's definitely doing good in the world. Who is doing good in the world? When you're in their presence, cultivate joy, all right? Now the last one is interesting. Upekshanam. Anyone know what upekshanam means? Equanimity, literally translated as equanimity, all right? So who do we remain equanimous to? Those who have apunya. So what is apunya? The opposite of punya, the opposite of the virtuous. Those who are, the opposite of virtuous would be what? The wicked, the evil. Those people that you deem evil in the world, the evildoers of the world. This is almost the hardest part of this sutra. You should remain upekshanam, equanimous. Equanimous in the face of those people. Think about that for a moment. right? That usually stirs some people's stuff up. So you're like, but, what if they are wrong? You know, what if they have done wrong to me, right? But what if they truly are evil? Then what? Shouldn't we then make a war against them and launch missiles at them and exterminate them and eradicate them from the world? And then we have a world war on our hands if that's written into the fields of our politicians and our nation's leaders. Upekshanam, equanimity. You remain equanimous in the face of those that you deem evil because your emotions mean you cannot see reality clearly because you have taken it personally. You cannot see reality clearly. You do not have viveka, khyati, discriminative discernment. You do not see the true from the untrue. You see your hurt. You see your pain, your dukkha, and you are identified with it. And as long as you are identified with it, viveka, khyati, the clear path of discriminative discernment, is not available to you. So the only thing that the yogi can do in the case of qualifying someone as evil is remain equanimous, upekshanam. And in the space of equanimity, right action, the path forward, will be presented. The non-personal, appropriate action will be presented. It does not mean that you need to lie down and let someone kill you, or abuse you, but that in order to determine the course of action forward, our mind must be as clear as possible and at least equanimous. If we were equanimous, we may be able to see, again, what is the correct course of action forward, whether it is removing ourselves from the situation, moving on in some fashion, enacting laws that create equality in the world, something like that, or eradicating the source of the disparity that led to the perpetrator of violence, to act out in that rage. Who knows what's possible when we're equanimous, when we can see clearly. But as long as we respond in the world from our personal hurt and we qualify, the relationship is easy to see that. How many of you have been in a relationship? I've been in we've all been in a relationship. I should not do that because who's not going to raise their hand if you haven't been in a relationship? We've all been in a relationship. I don't want to single out anyone if you've never been in a relationship. And at some moment, your partner has been evil, right? They are evil. And over small things, like the partner, like someone else were to do it, and you would brush it aside, but your partner, ooh, left the refrigerator door open. Oh no, did not take the trash out. Mortal sin, evil, right? Did not text me back for how long? I sent you a text at 9 a.m. It's 1 p.m. What have you been doing for 4 hours? God forbid you have a life. Without me, you are evil. All my feelings are hurt. And if you respond from that place, what do you get? You get a fight, You're also evil then, right? Unless you have a yogi partner, then, equanimous. I understand you are hurt, dear. I am so sorry. We hope to have yogi partner, at least yogi partner, if not Chitta Prasadanam ourselves. I think the whole teaching of yoga is available in that sutra, at least the way to act and be in the world, nothing else. Right?
I was just wondering, with I know the Shanga practice, you're supposed to do it 6 days a week,
Yeah.
but I've been struggling to find time. Would it be possible, if I were to do it in a day, maybe I did half in the morning and then the other half at night, is that okay to break it up during the day so you get the whole thing in? Or is it just do it all at once?
I think if possible, you kind of want to do it all at once.
Okay, so it's not.
But I don't know. Why don't you try it out and see? I just don't know where you would break and pick it up later.
I don't know either. I'm gonna have to write
I mean, the kind of thing you need, like sun salutation standing postures, either way. So, what I have seen people do, if they don't have the time, is then they break the primary series up half, and then they do but not morning and evening, because you still need to do the standing postures, the clothing postures. So then maybe it's not such,
Yeah.
I don't know. Then you do 2 practices in the day, but I do know some people that are doing the primary series don't have the time. So then they do 1 day, and they had at some moment all the time, so they have the capability. Yeah, they have the capability to do the whole primary series, but not the time. So then they're going like up to Supta Karmasana one day, next day sun salutation standing, starting with Garbha Pindasana, but assuming that they can do it easily, because they have already established that in the body. You wouldn't want to learn that way. Yeah? But if possible, I think maybe how much time you have? 1 hour in the morning? Less?
Well, I've been practicing about 4 days a week at the shala, but then I've just been, the other days I don't know, just other things going on, so I haven't had time. So I was just trying to look at it. Maybe I could do half in the morning and half at night.
The other days,
yeah. Or maybe just do it at home instead of driving to the shala or something.
I think for you, sounds like driving to the shala a good idea. So I would keep those 4 days in the shala.
Oh, yeah.
And then if you want to add the 2 other days, then maybe what you can do is let go of the need to do the whole practice.
Okay.
You know, figure out how much time you have. I think easiest way to start with those additional 2 days is just pretend like you're a total beginner. Total beginner would start with sun salutation A and B only. It takes 10 minutes. So just do that and lie down. If you have more time, do more, but don't put any more demands on yourself for those 2 days except sun salutation A, sun salutation B, last 3 postures maybe, lie down. Guruji said that was a complete practice anyway. So probably, I would imagine, if you do that, maybe you want to do a little more, but that's what your commitment is. 10 minutes.
So just start doing something.
Yeah, exactly. You start doing something, then slowly you'll want to do more. Or maybe not. Maybe you just do the sun salutations. Maybe that's enough for those 2 days. Even as little as 10 minutes can make a difference in the quality of mind for the whole day. So don't think like, oh, I don't have an hour and a half, I'm just not going to do anything. You know, if you have 10 minutes, do some salutations for 10 minutes. Yeah, it makes a difference. It'll set your intention for the day. Even that little bit of movement will again change the quality of the chitta, change the quality of the body for the day. So that particular type of thinking I used to have as well, which is sort of all or nothing thinking. It's kind of an either or. It's either going to be everything or it's going to be nothing, you know? And we experience that in the practice. I'm either going to put both legs behind my head or I'm never going to do it, you know? I'm either going to like lift up in a handstand right now in this moment or it's never going to happen. You know, and so we do that. We set these pass or fail tests, and we sort of like set these crapshoots off to the universe. You know, it's either going to happen today or never going to happen. You know, and that's just not the way it works. You know, you do it, you do what you can, and you move on. Maybe one day it happens, maybe not, but that's not the point. You know.
In a whole practice, how important do you think it is to maintain good transitions and integrity in transitions?
In the home practice,
Yeah.
just be happy they're doing it. You know what I mean? Yay, I'm on my mat. Yay! Look at that. I went back. You know, you try. Okay, you try, but it's hard. You know, you're by yourself.
It's harder.
Yeah. To motivate yourself. There's not a jump back. You know.
Try to do it.
Try.
Yeah.
If it doesn't happen, be happy that you're practicing.
Yeah.
You know. Another thing you can do to create discipline, do you know the vinyasa counts? Ekam, dve, trini. So that if you learn those and you count yourself through the practice, it keeps you on the program. You know, and then there's less distraction in the mind. So then, you know, home practice, especially practice at home, it's really easy to like be there at Paschimottanasana and be like, oh, the floor is really dirty. You know, it's so easy. I should really sweep that right now because, you know, I'll put my head there in like 20 minutes. And then you get up and you start sweeping and then someone comes over and you're like, I was practicing. You were sweeping. No, I was practicing. I'm practicing. I'm going to practice right now. You were sweeping the floor. I know, I'm practicing. And you know, it's really easy. So if you count yourself, you know, ekam inhale, dve exhale, trini inhale, look up, just fire jump back. Even if you just say ekam, dve, trini, just, you know, and you learn the vinyasa counts, that helps because then when you're in the seated postures, you're there, you count your breaths, so when it's time to get out, you're not like, oh crap, I gotta jump back, right? You're like, nam, inhale, head up, exhale, hands down. Dasha, inhale, take it up, ekadasha, exhale, jump back. Say that to yourself in your mind, it will keep you moving, right? And the only problem, you gotta learn them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, just like between standing poses, for example, I kind of slouch.
Oh.
It only comes out whatever.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I'm just not on. So it's important to maintain those things.
So it's important to maintain those things. Yeah. So the other thing that I would like, again, this whole idea of inner talk, self-talk. So you ask yourself, you got to keep the mind on the program too. So you're in the posture. You can't. You're home. Again, home is really easy to let your mind drift out. First of all, if you're practicing at home, do you have a picture of Guruji or a picture of Shara? Put that. Did you see Guruji? Something happens. You know what I mean? Right? See him there. You know, I have like 3 pictures of Guruji at my home altar. Guruji younger, Guruji older, me and Guruji, also a picture of Jayashree and Narasimhan, and then Ganesh for good measure. You know, all 3 of that, something, you know, I do have moments I space out, I look over, I see Guruji, boom, you know, something happens, right? So definitely that helps create the space as well. And then the other thing, if you don't know the Sanskrit counts one thing, can again easily keep you on the program, so you just keep moving. Second thing is if you don't want to learn that or if you're not connected to that, talk yourself technically through the practice, right? So then as you bring your leg out, don't just throw your leg out, be like talk yourself through the practice. So you're your own teacher inside. So you're there, you're in Trikonasana, and you say to yourself, suck in the belly, press in through the base of the right big toe, squeeze in your thighs together, 1. Okay, do it again. Shoulder blades roll down the back. How's my alignment with the shoulders? It's all right. Okay, there's my finger 2. You talk yourself like that. Your mind will be completely present. You know, if you're able to do that. And the belly will be good too. Dual purpose.
Yeah, I just meant like going from one thing to the next. It's easy to get sloppy.
Yeah, but and then that too. So then you're out of, it's time to pop out of Trikonasana. So the inner self-talk. So then you say, okay, 5. Okay, suck in the belly. I'm going to roll the spine all the way up, and here I go, squeezing the belly, externally rotating the left hip joint, pull it in, and exhale, bend into the hip joint. So you talk yourself through the transition the same way. You know, the transition of any posture is also the entry into the next posture. So then if you don't exit the previous posture with the level of integrity, then you're just going to fall forward into the, you know, it's going to deteriorate. And then suddenly you're going to not be doing anything, you know, or you're just going to be in pain and the slouchy feeling is going to take over and you're going to be in final relaxation before you know it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So a lot of times people will say, you know, like, you know, what are you thinking? I ask the students that, what are you thinking during that movement? And people often look at me like I'm crazy, you know, like they're trying to drop back. And, you know, Urdhva Dhanurasana, and it's not happening. And then I say, well, what were you thinking as you were trying to drop back? I look like, thinking? I don't do that. Well, maybe that's, you know, why we're not dropping back then. So how do you think through the body? How do you direct the body? Some people, they don't think, it's fine, their body works, it's born like that. They inhale, they exhale, they go back. I know someone that has whole practice like that. Every time I've ever asked him, what are you thinking? His answer is, I inhale, I exhale into the posture. And then he always did beautiful asana. I mean, he would reach back and hold his knees and back bend. And I was like, so what do you do with your shoulder to get into that? And he said, I don't know, I just inhale and then I exhale and hold my knee. And then I inhale, and then I exhale, hold the other knee. And I was like, beautiful. Great, that's nice for you. You don't think anything? I don't think anything. I was like, okay, try to practice Maitri, you know? And the same for him, the same thing. How do you jump back? I inhale, I lift up, and I exhale, I float back. That's great. You press anything? You squeeze anything? Anything squeeze, you push the floor, what's going on with your deltoids? I don't know, I inhale and then I exhale and then I think maybe Mula Bandha and then it happens. Oh, that's nice for you. So wonderful. Oh, fantastic. Please leave now. I have reached the limit, I can be happy, go away. So for me, that's often not what I'm thinking. So when I ask people, oh, what are you thinking when you drop back? And they're like, I don't know, I'm just trying to do it. I'm like, well, okay, let's calm down. Then, okay, think of what's going on with your feet. I don't know. Okay, well, let's start there. Push your big toe into the ground. My big toe. Yes, your big toe. You have a big toe, right? And then push down from the big toe. What's going on? Connect that to your knees. Think about your knees. Knees move forward. Think about the quadriceps. Quadriceps, engage. From the quadriceps, push through the pelvis. From the pelvis, engage the pelvic floor. Lift the spine out of the pelvis. Exhale, use the space that you created. Lift the ribs on the inhale. Hands in prayer, shoulder blades roll down the back. Inhale, hands above your head. Exhale, bend your knees, drop back. Talk yourself step by step through the movement. If you don't know your body, who does? you know? If you don't know that, no one else can. Even the best teacher is not going to be able to take you through that if you're not willing to put in that inner work. Because they can say hips forward to you, but if you don't also cooperate, center hips forward, it doesn't work, right? They can manually pull your hips forward, but even that doesn't always work sometimes. I've been pulling on some students' hips and trying to move them forward, and they're like resisting me for their life, you know? Like in back bend, actually, trying to get people to stand up from back bend. I'm trying to pull their pelvis forward, and they're pulling their pelvis away from me, and I'm like, what? You know? So you have to think. Thinking is not, you know, it's not, the idea is in the Ashtanga practice, not to check your brain at the door and then power through with brute force, but to, you know, subtle sense perception creates steadiness of mind. This is also in book 1 of the Yoga Sutras. Vishayavativa pravritir utpana manasashtiti nibandhani. Shtitau, strength and steadiness of mind. Nibandhani, binds the mind. Vishayavativa pravritir, stops the vrittis when we focus on the most subtle of them. The subtle of the sense perceptions slows down the revolutions of our thoughts, creating strength and steadiness of mind, binding the mind to a single sensation. So this is part of the way that the practice works. So next time you can't do a movement, ask yourself, what am I thinking? You know, what is happening? And then you'll get an access point into, you know, what's truly going on, what samskaras are present. Okay, so for those of you that have books, I'm going to do, we'll just do an Om together to end the space, and then I'll hang out, and for those of you that have books, I'll be happy to sign any of your books, okay? My book. You know, I say that because sometimes people have actually asked me to sign Yoga Bala. I'm like, I don't sign Guruji's book. And I say every time, I'm sorry, not possible. Like, ask Sharad or something, but, you know, one that I have written. Okay. Okay.